Hey, it's Spyro at Binacle.org, and this is going to be a review of Fear 3, or 3AR. Oh, and Blazer's here too.
Oh yeah, Blazer.
Yeah, so, we've played through Fear 3, start to finish, we recorded it, Let's Plays and whatnot. Go check them out on the site. So we thought we'd do a review of it. Now, that was your first time completing Fear 3, right?
Yeah. Well, up until level 3, I completed before.
Yeah, you played that with James. And you and James have subsequently played it through again on insane or hard?
On the second hardest difficulty.
So not insane, but hard.
We had to complete it on the second hardest difficulty to unlock points.
Right. And you haven't played any previous Fears except for a little bit of Fear?
I played Fear 1 until the crash. That's pretty heavy.
Alright, so I played all the Fears. So my opinion on this might be a bit different to yours. I don't know.
Quite possible.
What did you think of Fear as a game by itself, as a whole?
On its own, as a standalone game, it was pretty good. You didn't need to know anything about the past. I mean, everything that you needed to know was explained early on. And you could play the game without previous knowledge.
Yeah,
which is great. Because it's a game that's so focused on the whole series, because it's a big long story in what you've said.
Yeah, it's set 9 months after Fear 1. After Point Man was captured at the end of Fear 1.
Right.
It's not really a spoiler. If you're playing the game, you notice you wake up in a prison. So saying the fact that you get captured isn't going to spoil much. But yeah,
not a huge spoiler.
That happens, and you've got to break out with help of Paxton Fettel. You don't know much about him? Did you know much? Do you know what's going on?
I figured out. I don't know if it was because I was told or if the game helped me figure it out. But he's
your brother.
Point Man's brother.
Yeah.
Who's dead by Point Man's hand.
Which
that's given away.
The game does explain because you go. It's a whole. Fear 3 is about you going back to your roots. It's about you learning where you and Point Man came from.
Kids in the...
Yeah, you're learning where you and Point Man came from because you find out about where you grew up and experiments that were done on you and such like that. As a standalone game, like how you were saying, I thought it was a pretty good game. Like, the mechanic that you have throughout all previous Fears with the slow-mo works really well with Fettel as well.
Yeah.
So, like, Point Man will control the slow-mo, and if you're playing co-op, Fettel it affects him as well, because I was always wondering how that would work. But slow-mo is controlled by Point Man and affects everyone who's playing.
Well, I think effectively Fettel is in Point Man's head, isn't he?
It's really weird how it goes through that. Is he a psycho projection, or is he actually there? Because when you're talking, to him, no one else can see him.
Yeah.
And yet, when you play as Fettel, you're affecting physics around him.
And people will shoot at Fettel because they do see him.
Yeah, so when Fettel is running around, not taking over someone's body, he'll get shot at.
Yeah.
But in all the cutscenes, he's in your head.
Yeah, it's a bit weird the way that's done, but I think...
It works.
Yeah,
if you don't try and read into it too much, it works. But but as a game by itself, because it's a co-op game, like you can play that solo, but it
wouldn't be anywhere near as much fun.
I played it solo, and it was. This is the part where I think I'm going to differ to your review because you haven't done it before. It wasn't a Fear game for me. Like, I played it solo. I mean, I had the Fear storyline, didn't have the Fear atmosphere.
Yeah, no, I've seen some play through Fear 2, and I can see what you mean by that, the atmosphere.
We said that it was because when you rely on co-op so much, you take the fear away from it.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to reference a different game here.
Sure.
Resident Evil 5 is the same. Resident Evil games, me and James go and play through that, and we love Resident Evil 5. But there's no fear element. Like, you get surrounded by zombies all of a sudden, and you're not like, oh no, loads of zombies, what am I going to do? You're like, that's fine. If I can't get out of this, he's over there. He can shoot a couple of them down and come and heal me. Yeah.
It's like on Fear, it's right at the beginning, you're going through these sort of tunnels, and as you go down it, static comes over your headset, your lights start to flicker, your HUD isn't working properly, you know something's about to happen, and then Alma runs in front of you. Even though it sets it up with music and all of that, you know it's going to happen, but it still freaks you out. When I played Fear, I played it on my laptop, headphones in the dark, to get the atmosphere going.
Yeah.
First game ever to properly freak me out, because it properly gets you at times. Fear 2, not as much. The fear was there, they had the atmosphere, it was still there. I don't know if it's because of the first game, I'm desensitized to it.
Yeah.
It was still good. Fear 2 had a good storyline as well. Fear 3, no fear at all. It's not a fear game.
Fear 3 was the first fear game I played, and there was no moment where I was like, oh, well, yeah,
I don't know if it's because it's
not desensitized to you. It's because I had exactly the same feeling. It didn't create an element of fear for me. So I think that's just it was missing. I don't know about number 2, maybe it was desensitization, but for number 3 it was just missing.
Yeah, but I mean, still, I'm not saying it's a bad game. I mean, for the way the mechanics work, it's just like other FPSs. The whole slow-mo thing is really good. It's got a good stat building element to it. The fact that you do level up your character by getting points, and you then get more health, you carry more grenades. So there's a nice replay value. You can play the first level again, and it will be quite a bit different. And it will be because of the way this game was built. No 2 playthroughs are going to be the same.
I don't agree with that so
Enemy
much.
AI does change through level. It's not like you're going to walk into the level and 5 guys are going to come through that door, 2 are going to go that way, 3 are going to go this way. I've noticed that things change. They don't act the same way.
I found one thing I did find is that after the first playthrough, it gets significantly easier to play. Because, like you said, I played through it with you.
Yeah.
My first completion was with you. Then I played through with James. Now, there were points where me and James had got to before. We got halfway through, we decided to restart from scratch.
Okay.
On the hardest difficult we had available to us. And we completed it. And apart from the very first mission, where we hadn't played it together in a long time, James was completely out of touch with it, so he didn't know didn't know all the buttons, had completely forgotten about slow-mo, so we didn't use it.
He was playing as point man.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got through the first mission, and after, that mission we were 2 minutes over the mission target time.
Yeah.
After that, there wasn't a single mission where we weren't at least 2 minutes under.
Huh.
In one mission, we beat the time by 15 minutes.
That's pretty cool.
And that's on the highest difficulty available to you at the beginning. Because the strategies that we incorporated in the first playthrough, like you and me, I was able to incorporate in the next one. And it worked the same. Like with the two
phase
casters. That became so easy because I took over one, meleeed the other, broke out of the first one, took over the next one, and broke out of that, and then they're both dead in no time whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because once you've got the strategy, it becomes much, much easier.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
That's in a way, that's one place the game lost out for me.
I would say it was an Army of 2 like that. With the set pieces, with a strategy, you could get through that quite quickly.
Talking
about 40th day here, not Cartel.
I assume because I haven't played Cartel twice. There were certain set pieces, yeah. And for those once you've done them before, you can remember how to do them again and you can go through it again. But with a lot of the actual gunfighting, there wasn't a huge strategy to it.
Adding sort of a replay value to it, the fact that you can play as Fettel or as Point Man, which are 2 quite different playthroughs. When you're with Fettel and you take over someone, you're basically playing as Point Man because you're doing the shooting and whatnot. But having Fettel out of the body,
I think even when you're in a body with Fettel, because there's the element of you've got to keep killing people and picking up their essence, so you've got a secondary task that you've got to be focusing on.
I never enjoyed playing as Fettel. I always enjoy playing as Point Man because I like the shooting element to it, which is weird because a lot of RPG games I'll go as the mage. I like the magic side of it, whereas with Fettel I didn't like that. I didn't like the whole levitating people, crushing them. It wasn't the game I wanted to play. I wanted to play Fear.
Which is fair enough. Yeah. I enjoyed Fettel, and as I got more used to Fettel and more comfortable playing Fettel, I enjoyed him a hell of a lot more, and I think I became really, really good at controlling certain points of the game.
Oh, it was when we were playing through it. It was very much I knew exactly what to do as Point Man, and you knew exactly what to do as Fettel. We didn't really need to converse much about it because it just happened.
There was a moment in the game with me and James where he was down to nearly dead. And there were 2 of the almost like dog monsters.
Yeah, the fiery dog things.
Yeah, there were 2 of those left in the room. Now, when I first played through the game, I would panic and pick one of them up and tried to kill that one, and then tried to kill the next one.
Yeah.
But by that point, it would be too late. He would have been down. Because I was so used to playing this Fettel and so used to the strategies, I was able to pick one up and attack the other one, kill the other one, whilst the other one was still levitating, give James time to recover. Which is something that I got through, because it's easy to pick up. Once you play through enough, if you get halfway through the game, it's really easy to pick up how you should be playing as those players.
Yeah.
And then it becomes incredibly easy, which is a problem as well. It's great, but a problem.
And I think that might be why I didn't like Fettel. Your first Fear game that you played as Fettel.
Yeah.
So you had no prerequisite of how the game's played. I played through as Point Man in the first game, played through as the Sergeant in the 2 expansions, which aren't canon, for Fear 1, and then Michael Beckett in number 2. All 3 of these characters are the same. All three of them have slow-mo. It's not really explained why the Sergeant has slow-mo. He doesn't make any sense canon in the storyline. But Beckett makes sense for it, and Pointman makes sense. So, because I've played as that character, I didn't want to play as Vettel. But whereas you had never played it before, you were used to it.
So yeah, Vettel wasn't different.
I've played through it as Vettel, not the whole game. I played through a couple of missions. It just didn't feel right to me.
Which is fair enough. I mean, maybe it would be better for people new to the series.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, people who aren't new to the series might like the chance to play someone different within the same series and the same storyline.
And I do get, you can't have 3 games exactly the same. There's got to be an element of evolving to it, which is why they brought in the co-op.
Yeah.
But it was a great idea. But I feel like I'm going to have to give this game 2 separate review scores, because we're getting to this point now. We're going to review it.
Yep.
I'm going to give 1 review for it being a fair game, and 1 review as a game.
Well, I mean, obviously, as I'm not a huge fan of the series, I can only give it the review.
What would you give it as a game?
I'd probably go between 7 and 8. Maybe 7. I'd give it an 8. I quite enjoyed it. I mean, even though, yeah, it was really quick to play through, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
So it's easy but enjoyable. I mean, you have games that can be easy and boring at the same time, but this was easy, still enjoyable.
No, I agree with you on that.
I think I'd stick with a solid 8 out of 10.
As a game, a good horror shooter co-op game, because it is a horror game, even though the other score I'm going to give you is going to talk about how it isn't. As a horror co-op shooter game, playing with someone, about an 8. It was a good shooter, there was a good horror element to it, and storyline was great in the game.
I mean, it's a solid 7.5 to a 8.
Okay.
So no, I don't want to say a solid 8. I'd give it an 8, but it would be more solid
8-ish.
7.5. Yeah, 8-ish.
And then as a fear game, I'm thinking about 4 or 5, because the only thing it had going for it in being a fear game was the name of your characters, and the storyline and the universe they were in.
The ending was pretty gruesome as well.
The ending was pretty gruesome, yeah.
And you got to give it some points for that.
The only points it's getting positive here are the fact that it was in the universe, it was in the setting, and you're playing as these characters, and Alma was around, and and it was Armor Cam, but there was no atmosphere, and a big part of fear is the atmosphere.
Okay.
And when they made the game, they made such a point about how they looked at a lot of Japanese horror, where the creepy little girl, obvious they've done that, and the timings of Japanese horror with music and when things happen, and Fear 1 was perfect for that. Fear 2, losing it a bit, but it was still there. Fear 3, it's gone. There was no shock moments in it. Is it not shock moments, but there was no...
There were a couple.
Not in the same way that what fans of Fear had come to expect. So you're not going to... If you've played through Fear the whole way through, you're not going to think this was a Fear game. Fear 1 was a lot scarier. And that's what I liked about it. I liked Fear. That's why I'm so big on the series.
It's called Fear.
I'm not saying I dislike Fear 3. I like Fear 3. I'll play that game so many times, but it's not Fear game.
So you're going to give it an overall rating from those two, or you
I'm going to stick with the 2 separate ratings, because as a game, 8, I like it, but as a Fear game, 4.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I have no idea whether there's going to be a 4th game.
It's going to be interesting.
It'd be cool,
because I'd like to see how they're going to which ending, because there's 2 endings to Fear, isn't there?
Yeah, which something.
And I mean, are they going to replace the A with a 4? Or...
They would. It'd be F3AR.
Yeah, that's the bit I'm most interested in.
Yeah, but no, the Fear people have always been good with their community. I mean, Fear 2, Project Origin was named by the community.
That's cool.
Project Origin part was a big competition that went out.
And Project Origin was
where they started.
A major part of Fear 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, but yeah, definitely play this game if you're looking for a good co-op shooter to play with your friends. Especially if you've just bought Devil's Cartel.
Co-op shooter with a difference, and yeah.
If you play Devil's Cartel and you don't want to do any, you want to play a good co-op shooter, get Fear 3. Also get Fear 1 and 2. Also get the expansion for number 2, because that was pretty damn good.
Not 10 enough.
No, the expansion for number 2, it was the DLC. Fear 2 Reborn. It's the reason that Vettel is in Fear 3. Vettel was locked away at the end of Fear 1 because he was killed. It's how his spirit comes back.
Right.
And you also find out that all of the replica soldiers are Vettel. They're clones of him. One of them takes off in the expansion. this is going well off topic, it's not even Fear 3, but you play as Foxtrot 813, one of the replica soldiers, and at the end of it he takes off his helmet, it's Vettel.
That's cool.
But yeah, go buy this game. Oh, and check out all our other videos and subscribe. We have a Twitter and a Tumblr. You should go on Tumblr, there's some awesome pictures of Blaze Goats. And yeah. Facebook too, yeah. And also check out bindingcore.org, where we've got loads of other stuff, including like reviews, like written reviews, other videos, that.
Tech help.
Tech help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot. You should go there.
Check it out.